Hi, from Berlin Mitte. I just had a fresh haircut, which is always very nice, at a very good place called Victor Leske. Can highly recommend. Always a good cut, more on the expensive side, but I usually get, I have long hair, of course, and I get like a little trim, maybe once a month, and then expensive haircut once a month. Keeps it fresh, keeps it nice. Topic of the day, I think, anger, freakouts, ventilation. I have had a conversation with my friend Tim, who can also be your friend Tim if you follow him on YouTube here. And we talked about relationship topics, and then we ended up at a topic that I really like, that I really had to learn, which is anger and freakouts and ventilation of feelings. I'm gonna try to give you a rundown. Bottom line first, I used to think that it's not so urgent to say everything you feel in a relationship, in a friendship, and that you can keep things inside and so on. And I learned that it's very important to say almost everything that you feel, not recklessly of course, but in a good way, so that you can make way for the new and ventilate what you carry inside. And the best reference to that, something that I read that really showed me how to do that. By the way, I'm in Auguststraße, one of my favorite streets in Berlin, maybe my favorite street in Berlin. Gleich ins Ballhaus. And one of my favorite bars is here. I think I just passed it. And generally very good vibes. Lots of art here. If you're ever in Berlin, Auguststraße in Mitte is the place to be. Where was I? Yes, that the best explanation for that really changed my view was when I read a book called Radical Honesty by a guy whose name I do not recall. It's a bit of a strange book. It has like a bit of a cult following. There are like radical honesty workshops and blah blah. I never was into that, but I've read the book and it helped me a lot. Another distraction, very cool old little car, yeah. Look at this bad boy, with the trailer even. Very nice. That's so cool. And the explanation in Radical Honesty was, you know how an engine runs on explosions? And it's many little explosions. And that's good. That propels the engine forward step by step. Or if you just imagine a man walking, like this man, then, you know, every step is an impulse, a little explosion, you could say. And that brings us forward. What doesn't bring us forward is not walking for a long time and then having one really big explosion, because that is not a motor. That is an exploded motor and that won't work after that anymore. I personally had a very strong lesson in this in my last relationship, which ended, I would say, with an explosion, and that was really painful for everybody involved. And Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I think my biggest contribution, my biggest failure in this was not knowing how to manage and deal with my anger. Sorry, just crossing the road. Don't want to die today. Because I kept so much inside and I thought, well, I don't know what I thought really. I can't really remember it. You know, sometimes when these things change in us, we don't have access to our old selves anymore. So I can't really tell you what I was thinking, but I was just raised this way, that I couldn't really express my anger because I always thought it would hurt people. But then what I learned really hurts people is the inevitable explosion that comes after not expressing anger for a long time. And everybody can understand you getting angry or you getting pissed. And people who love you can also deal with it. And they will help you through that moment. And au contraire, when you don't deal with it, you become, or I can talk about myself, I did become like very annoying, I'm sure. Because when I have anger in me or like a frustration or a resentment, then I just start being very judgmental and being like, I start putting myself above the other person. I start being aloof. It's like, well, you know, kind of judging and blaming the other person for not having recognized that they pissed me off or something. And it's like, how should they know, right? And maybe it wasn't them necessarily that pissed me off. Maybe I just got pissed off and connected it with them. I think that's also a very normal thing. But the fail-safe against this is to express it and to say, hey man, I'm pissed. Okay, why are you pissed? Well, this and that. Okay, you know, and then emotionally somewhat mature people can have a conversation about this. This is, I'm still not completely over this. That's why I can talk about it a little bit, but when I gain so much trust in people when I'm able to be pissed at them and they return it well, and they either are like, yeah, I understand that, I'm sorry about that, or they're like, I understand that, but you know, I also think that you blah blah blah, and it just gets ventilated out, and it can be an argument that is heated, it can be just a conversation that is calm, but either way it releases the pressure. And my friend Tim, maybe your friend Tim, told me that something was freaking him out and that he was worried in his relationship, and we talked about it, and I pretty much said the same. And I said, hey, find a way to gently approach it, but don't keep it inside. You know, that's especially if you're building a new relationship. Don't because there's so much fear there that by being too honest, you will mess something up. And that is a reasonable fear, and of course we love to show ourselves from our best side in the beginning of a relationship. But if you want to build something real and you have a real feeling, then giving that feeling the space it's asking for is how you get a real and also a realer relationship. And that's what I've experienced in terms of building trust. That saying these things out loud and then realizing that you will not die and you will not be left and abandoned and you will not be punished for speaking your feelings. That's what builds trust, not only in the other person but also in the world as a whole. And that's a healing process that is very important for me. Maybe in your life you've always been doing this, you're kind of impulsive, or even not, but you just know how to do this. Cool, no problem. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you've never thought about this. But I know many people who come from growing up with, I don't know, emotionally more immature parents, or not having the freedom, essentially, to express themselves that way and then being held and feeling safe. I feel like the whole, all of the Twitter gang that I'm part of, Teapot, or many people who are trying to overcome emotional trauma these days, are basically dealing with that, more or less. So I hope it's useful advice, and yeah, there's of course much more to be said about it in terms of how do you do that and how do you approach such a conversation factually. And I'm also, last point, needing to learn at the moment. I learned to ventilate a lot of my anger together with my brother, who I lived with, and we had to get used to living with each other, and we're a family, so we have kind of a protected realm. And so I freaked out a lot, to be honest. And yeah, there's also I'm learning maybe a more gentle approach. First, having to integrate my anger and allowing myself to just kind of fly off the handle a bit, which I'm very grateful for my brother for playing that game with me. And next up is maybe recognizing the anger and then maybe transmuting it into questions or curiosities. If it's not so pressing, that's possible as well. So lots to learn. That's it for now, and one of my favorite cars that I often see in the street, the green Beetle. I've seen this often. So my car fetish. I hope you enjoy that. Hey, have a great one, and more topics soon. And if you have any questions or comments, I would love to have a conversation and address more of this. So all the best. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.